a few areas where I've actually got some questions, but I'll start with one which actually I flagged already with the Chair this morning, because I think it may be an issue that might require a bit further examination from this committee, but that's in relation to the allotment service, because I've had a lot of concerns raised with me locally behind the provision that is about the provision that's currently being provided by the Council, and I've been having a look at the allotment strategy, which of course is referenced in these documents, and from the aims of the strategy, we seem to be sort of not succeeding, I think, is probably the best thing, because sorry, I can't quite find it in front of me now, but the issues that certainly I'm picking up is that the communications seem to be quite poor at the moment between the service and allotment sites, and certainly in my local one, but I've also heard problems in other sites as well. But for instance, the Council maintains the waiting list, and certainly the Colchester Avenue Allotments Association hasn't had that list shared with them for about 12 months. That means that they've got empty plots, but they're unable to allocate them to anybody because they don't know who's waiting for a plot. And obviously that isn't you know, in line with the strategy. There also seems to be a problem that plot holders are not being invoiced, and they're getting rather worried that, you know, the invoices are months overdue, and therefore, you know, there's the potential that they could be evicted for not having paid their rent. And in fact, I do know of somebody who was not from my local site, but who was sent an eviction notice for non-payment of rent because he hadn't actually been invoiced. So that does seem to be a bit of a problem. But there are other issues. So repairs aren't being carried out, and I noticed, I think in the strategy there's a commitment to do more to deal with repairs. In Colchester Avenue they have an underground water leak which is causing a lot of problems, and that hasn't been addressed for months apparently. There's also a particular problem in the site shop that they have, where asbestos has been, I think, discovered within it. So the shop has been out of action as a result for 10 months. And although somebody's been out and said, oh, well, they think it needs to be contained, nothing seems to be happening. So that they're being sort of left in limbo. And what they tell me is that they're asked to contact the allotment service via a particular email address, but they don't get any response on it. So obviously there's probably a staffing issue, a lack of resourcing on the council side. But it almost seems to be adding up to a feeling that pretty much the support service the council is providing for allotments has, to all intents and purposes, collapsed. And as I say, these problems, from what I pick up, aren't just affecting my local side in my ward, but they are affecting allotment sites in other parts of the city as well. So it does seem to be a bit of an endemic problem. So in terms of delivering the allotment strategy, it feels as if actually we're going completely against the aims and objectives that I can't find them just at the moment, but I had them up a few minutes ago. But we don't seem to be addressing them at all. So I just wondered if you can maybe respond to that.
Thanks for that, Councillor Berman. I don't think the service has collapsed. I mean, there are challenges there. We've got one full-time equivalent member of staff managing that service with over 2,500 customers. In general terms around the strategy, I don't think we're failing. I think there are areas for improvement. We meet with a stakeholder group of representatives on a quarterly basis to chart the progress against the strategy. I hear what you're saying on some of the specific issues around invoicing and communication. One of the fundamental improvements that we're looking to implement shortly, which you might have heard from Colchester Avenue Councillor Berman, is the introduction of new allotment software, which will improve our response to requests for waiting lists, tenancy information. It'll be in real time. We've provided all sites with tablets, so instead of the historical, we'll contact the allotments officer or we'll go to the allotments inbox to request information. That will be in real time and accessible to sites. On the waiting list specifically, the last waiting list for Colchester Avenue was provided in February of this year, and we're anticipating getting information around a waiting list towards an update one towards the end of this month. So we have got challenges. I'm not denying that. We're responding as best as we possibly can within the levels of resources that we've got. We're also seeking external funding for some elements of repair and maintenance. It's an extremely limited budget that we have for an aging stock of allotments. When you divvy out that budget by the number of allotments on repair and maintenance, it equates to about £600 per site per year, which isn't a lot at all. We've got some capital issues to address. We're hopefully going to get another 55,000 in this financial year from the Welsh Government allotment grant, which will enable us to tackle some infrastructure issues in principle, which will eliminate some of the repair and maintenance demand. It's a service that does need to improve. I recognise that. I don't see it as failing. I don't think we're collapsed, but I think there's room for improvement. I'm more than happy to attend a meeting with the Colchester Avenue site. Councillor Berman, if you think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be. I didn't want to particularly sort of pick up specifically on a casework issue, but it does seem to me that, certainly as of last night, I was told they hadn't seen the waiting list for 12 months. So if you're saying it was sent in February, they don't seem to have received it. So maybe we can see, what's going on there. But I suppose the question really is, in terms of the strategy, which includes things like making sure that sites have effective representation, making sure there's progress in addressing repairs, making sure that we are working with them to satisfy the demand for allotments, etc. So the experience I'm describing is that a lot of these things aren't happening, or certainly aren't happening to the right level. Is there an issue with resourcing that perhaps the council needs to think about addressing? Otherwise, because if there is a particular desire to develop and improve the service or whatever, do we have to be realistic that that can't be achieved from within the resources that we currently have, and that maybe this has to be addressed through the budget?
That may be the case. As I said, it is challenging. Hopefully when we get Orchestrate, which is the new software system, up and running, that will take some of that load off the allotment officer. So hopefully there'll be an improvement in our day-to-day responses to tenants and site secretaries. I think we are engaging. Fundamentally, we have a quarterly meeting with site representatives, so that's happening tomorrow in Sapphire Gardens, and we're trying to engage as far as we possibly can in the actions from the strategy document. So at the moment, we're working with a group of representatives to update the tenancy agreement. That's something that's long overdue, so it's not something that the officers have pulled together in isolation. We've worked through that methodically with site representatives to ensure that we're covering their needs, the people that are actually, dealing with the issues on a day-to-day basis. Potentially in 26-27, we'll be looking at the local management agreement as well, reviewing that. That's probably overdue now. And I think with local management, the more sites that we can encourage to take that option will reduce the burden on the allotments officer. So yes, there is a resourcing issue there. There are a number of resourcing issues across parks. The challenge is when we've got reducing budgets is, filling those gaps.